This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And we are back for another edition of the Primetime Podcast right here on Most Valuable Podcast, your one-stop shop for mainly college football, college basketball. But, Brandon, we're in an interesting time now. I mean, the college season for basketball is going on, so we got a ton of prospects to talk about there. But in college football, it's kind of turned into, all right, we're in that limbo where it's like the season's ended, we're not going to start previewing the next one, so it's pretty much a draft mindset when it comes to the college kids and where they're going. Got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Going to be looking at, you, when you came in, told me the big news that you're excited about, Kyler Murray. He is going, I'm using my air quotes, to the NFL draft. Do you think, right now, before I kind of put you on the spot here, do you think he'll end up in the NFL? If you had to just really quick yes or no answer, and then maybe a little bit.
I'd say yes. I think that if he was completely sold on going and playing baseball, he would not have entered the draft. He would have told the Oakland A's, I'm coming. I'll be reporting to you guys.
Didn't they meet with him too and give him more money?
They were having a meeting. I think there was a certain price point out of his camp that he wanted, and if he got that, he would definitely go baseball to go with the one that he might be getting the most money with. That I'm assuming that probably didn't happen. He's going to test out the NFL, and I think that ultimately he'll end in the NFL.
The thing I thought about today is how interesting would it be if he got drafted by the Oakland Raiders? Where it's like, oh, you got drafted by Oakland, and they're going to LA, or they're going to Las Vegas. So it's like the team that is leaving Oakland is now stealing your player away from your baseball team. I hope that doesn't happen to Oakland, by the way, but we're comparing Kyler Murray to Dwayne Haskins today on the show. We're also going to take a look at Bryce Love. Finally came out and said why he was skipping his bowl game to worry about his health. It's because he tore his ACL and had to have surgery on that. We're going to look at how that is going to affect his draft stock, and then we're going to look at the transfer pool in college football. A big name in Jalen Hurts is looking to transfer, and we're going to look at where he should go, kind of best fits, what schools could land the right now Alabama quarterback. And before we get into everything, make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That is where you help and support us. And at the $10 tier, you can be like our boy Matt, who's going to be on the podcast next week, and you can join a podcast with whatever topic you would like to talk about. But Brandon, let's take a look. Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray. I was kind of hoping that Kyler Murray would put his name into the NFL draft mix today, because as I sent you this email of our topics last night, I said, man, wouldn't it really suck if Kyler Murray was like, no, I'm going to baseball, because then we couldn't do this topic. But the thing I want to ask you, you are now the Arizona Cardinals. Let's say you're taking a quarterback at number 1. Who do you take, Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray?
You know, a week ago, I would have, and I think I was saying for sure, take Dwayne Haskins. The quarterback you have is garbage. And I still stand by that. Josh Rosen's a flop. I don't care what people say about, how can you tell after 1 year? You can tell after a couple of games. I think at this point, if he is actually going to come in and stay and not go anywhere else and not switch and flip-flop back and forth, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I want Kyler Murray. I think that he comes with a little bit more potential. I think he comes with just a better overall set of skills. While I think that Dwayne Haskins can still be a runner if need be, Kyler Murray is definitely better mobility-wise. He's really good under pressure. Yes, he loses a little bit of accuracy when he's throwing on the run, but he still has the velocity on it. I think that there's a lot that he can do, and he makes big big plays. I mean, you look at the games that he played against West Virginia this past year. Both games he played against Texas this past year. One was a loss, one was a win, but both games he played really well. He brought his team back in that first game, especially to even make it close. They were down by multiple scores early in that ball game. He's a very, very good quarterback. Kyler Murray is. Again, I mentioned a lot of things that I liked about Dwayne Haskins last week. I still think that Dwayne Haskins has a very good arm, accurate, can move the ball down the field. But I think that there's going to be bigger plays and I think more poise, at least right now, out of Kyler Murray. There's more for, I think, a guy like Dwayne Haskins to work on. And now this is tough because I don't want to make it sound like Dwayne Haskins is not good and everything I said last week is inaccurate, but when you put him against Kyler Murray, that's where you start to say, okay, who do you really think is the better one? And I just think Murray gets a little bit of an edge there.
My first thought, and I know that people are going to get angry at me for this.
Oh, people are probably already angry at me. Go ahead.
I look at them and I go, Dwayne Haskins all day, every day. And the main reason I say that is the size. Dwayne Haskins right now, 6'2", 214. Give me that over 5'10", $190. And the thing that I will say is everyone, like, the biggest positive for Kyler Murray right now in my mind is Baker Mayfield. If Baker Mayfield came out at number 1 and was a huge flop, we wouldn't be even batting an eye at Kyler Murray. We'd be saying, oh, he's going to be a really good college quarterback, but don't expect anything. Don't expect that at the next level. Where my worry with Kyler Murray is you look at his tape in college and you're impressed. You look at what he can do, you're impressed. But the thing that I wonder is with everything with his ability, how is he going to translate into the next level? Because if you look at any single draft profile for this kid, they all say his best trait is his playmaking ability, but his worst trait is his progressions. And at the next level in the NFL, it's all about those progressions. So for me, I wonder what Kyler Murray, like, what are we going to get from Kyler Murray? Is it going to be Russell Wilson-esque, where, and I throw Russell Wilson out there because
he's 5'11",
5'11",
smaller guy, yep.
But here's the thing with Russell Wilson is, yes, he can run the ball, but he's a guy that let me run around a lot in the backfield and look for a receiver down the field. Is Kyler Murray going to be that, or is he going to be what we saw from RG3, where it's like, okay, I can do this by myself, or kind of a little what we saw from Lamar Jackson earlier this year and even a little bit later this year of, okay, let me get this with my legs. I can do it. And that is not going to bode well the more hits you're going to take with that smaller frame. Whereas Dwayne Haskins, he's sitting there. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of more weight. He's only got 20 pounds. But I mean, 20 pounds is 20 pounds. But he's 6'2", 214 compared to 5'11", $190.
Another quarterback that I look at and that I think took a lot of flack for being too small, Drew Brees. And he's been one of the best, most consistent.
We just throw him out all the time. But
it's
all the same names.
But here's what I'm trying to say is that there was so much against Drew Brees when he was coming out. This guy's never going to be good. He's not going to be able to see over the offensive line. He's never going to be able to get the ball down the field. He's not going to see the receivers that he's trying to throw it to. That's garbage. That's a garbage claim because we know it's not true. He's never won an MVP, and I don't understand how he could very well do it this year. He's been one of the best.
Over Patrick Mahomes?
He could.
Okay. I'm just saying Patrick Mahomes is my MVP. That's why I'm saying
Patrick Mahomes is who I want to win the MVP, but I wouldn't be upset with Drew Brees because he's never won it, and Pat Mahomes will probably win it multiple times if he plays like this all the time. But what I'm saying is that yes, you can throw out a number of different guys, but that's where I think if you try and make the argument that he's too small, it almost ends up being garbage because we've seen other guys who are too small, quote unquote, that have done it, that have succeeded and excelled and done much better than anyone ever believed that they'd be able to do.
Well, and that's why I bring up Russell Wilson.
My biggest thing is not his height, it's his weight. It's how big is he in terms of how much muscle does he have on him. We've seen quarterbacks, if you do not have an offensive line, if you go to a team that has a porous offensive line and you are taking hit after hit after hit after hit, look at this past season. We saw the Houston Texans offensive line not be very good. Deshaun Watson took numerous hits. Could there have been games where he did not play? Could there have been multiple games where he did not play? Yeah, there absolutely could have been. He was hurting. He was hurting bad. I remember after the Dallas game, he took so many hits, they were wondering, is he going to play next week? That is the biggest, I think, worry that I would have about Kyler Murray. It's not his height. It's not anything within his mechanics. It's the fact that, is he going to be able to hold up against some big hits from big defensive linemen, linebackers who come at him full speed, knock him to the ground? Will he be able to sustain that? With right now, I think he's about 195 or so, under 200. Is he going to be able to add on some more weight, some more muscle to be able to sustain those types of hits? That is, I think, the biggest concern with Kyler Murray entering the NFL.
Well, and that's why, it's exactly why, with me, it's not the size that is the weakness or that is the red flag. It's the durability because of said size. And like I think the thing you hit right on the head is it's not the height. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, although Drew Brees is listed at 6 foot, Russell Wilson is 5'10", 5'11". He's doing just fine. Can see over the offensive line, can chuck the ball downfield. I don't think that Kyler Murray will have a problem in that sense. For me, it's because of the game that he plays, where if he's able to come to the next level, and I don't want to say do exactly what Russell Wilson is doing, but kind of be that smart. Like, I even say we see it from Baker a little bit, where it's like, if your eyes are down the field, you're making your reads, you're using your legs to open the pocket, extend time, and look downfield, then he'll be fine. The thing that I think is the big worry is that if he becomes a runner, if his first, I'm going to say Lamar Jackson-ism for Kyler Murray. Like, think about that West Virginia game. Breaks down, first thing he does is shoot to the left side, and he's gone. First off, the defensive players in the NFL are going to be bigger, faster, stronger. Number two, that is something where NFL coaches, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you do rattle off a 50-yard touchdown like that, the coach goes, oh, great, high fives because we scored. But if you don't, as a quarterback, especially with how much money these teams are investing in quarterbacks, it kind of seems like teams are like, let's not do that, because if you get hurt, then that throws everything down the drain. And the thing I want to bring into this is Deshaun Watson was an interesting name that you brought up, because just because Dwayne Haskins is 6'2", 214, Deshaun Watson is listed 6'2", 220. So they're in the ballpark, but Deshaun Watson is also a player that has been hurt in the NFL. Now, I know his was a knee. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, a big hit knocked him out of the game. But just because Dwayne Haskins is 6'2", 214 doesn't mean he is going to be impenetrable to injuries and nothing's going to happen to him. I just think their games are so different, to where Dwayne Haskins, the biggest red flag is we only seen 1 year out of him.
Yeah.
We saw 1 year in college, whereas Kyler Murray, it's can you hold up as an NFL quarterback durability-wise?
And I would come at you on the Dwayne Haskins thing and say we saw 1 year out of Mitch Trubisky, and now Mitch Trubisky was a playoff quarterback this past year. And no, he didn't win in the playoffs this past season, but this is a team, thankfully, because of Mitch too and the system he's in, that they should be seeing many more playoff appearances. And that's a quarterback and a young guy who we saw 1 year out of. So again, you can break down a lot of, and you can break through a lot of those. Well, he only this or he only that. You can go through that and say, well, here's other guys that have done it. Here's other guys that have done it. Now, is that going to roll over to each other person? No, not necessarily. Of course not. But I also think that when you look at both of these quarterbacks and you compare both of them, you wonder who's going to be the best under pressure. Because if you look at Ohio State, I'd love to see how Dwayne Haskins handles a little bit more pressure. He didn't have a whole lot of pressure. Ohio State, really, that offensive line was pretty good. He wasn't under pressure a whole lot. When he was, there were some good plays where he made some good moves. There was a good play in one of the games early on in the season where he kept his eyes downfield. He used some of his mobility. He ended up making a really good throw back of the end zone. Receiver caught it for a touchdown. There's that, and then there's also I don't get pressured a whole lot. What's going on? Don't know what to do with the football. I think of the two of them, I think I mentioned this earlier already, but Kyler Murray is the better quarterback under pressure when there's chaos. Murray is the better one to me, but I also think that maybe because he was under a little bit more duress than Haskins was throughout the season.
No, and that's one thing you can't take away from Kyler Murray is his poise. Where 2 games you look at, West Virginia and Texas, like those two, and I'm talking about the second Texas game. Those were some big time situations, because if they don't beat that Texas team the second time, they ain't going to the college football playoff. And I think the biggest thing that, like, both of these guys are guys that can chuck it down the field. The reason why, if you asked me, gun to my head, pick one at number 1, if I had to pick a quarterback, the reason why I would take Dwayne Haskins is because of 2 things. One, I think he's more ready, if that even makes sense. He's better prepared, I should say, to go through the reads, the progressions, that's the word I'm looking for, at the next level, where Kyler Murray, and they said the same thing about Baker Mayfield too. I don't know if it's just an Oklahoma offensive thing where the offense that Lincoln Riley plays isn't very, like, it doesn't have a ton of progressions. It just has, you know what, I had 2 playmakers go out, hey, Kyler, go out there and be you. Hey, Baker, go out there and be you, kind of a thing. And it just worked that way. Whereas Dwayne Haskins, you kind of saw with that offense, some of the progressions that he had to check down and go through. The other one's the durability. And it's the only reason why I bring up the durability. I'm going to get away from the size, and I'm going to go with how they play the game. Whereas someone in the comment section was like, did this guy, talking about me, did he call Dwayne Haskins mobile? Like a mobile quarterback? Yes, technically, like, I would consider him a dual threat, but more of like the dual threat of like Big Ben, where, hey, I'm in the pocket, let me slide over, let me bootleg out this way to keep the play going and looking downfield. Where Kyler Murray, I would almost be nervous to where it would be, is he going to be Lamar Jackson-esque, Russell Wilson-esque, where it's like, I'm going to use Lamar Jackson more so of like, oh, this broke down, I'm running, and then he's off to the races. Where the reason why it worked with Russell Wilson is he stays in the backfield. Like, I know sometimes he goes out and has runs for gains, but he's running, like, we see, like, they mark it on SportsCenter. It's like, oh, wow, he's running for like 20 seconds behind the offensive line, eventually finds Doug Baldwin wide open for an easy catch. Which one are we going to see from Kyler Murray? And does Kyler Murray kind of need a coach like Russell Wilson has in Pete Carroll, where I feel like Pete Carroll is kind of like Lincoln Riley, where it's like, hey, Russ, you do you. You be you, you're fine. And he doesn't put a ton of pressure on his quarterback where some other coaches might try to take Kyler and fit him into a box that he does not belong into.
And I think I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to say that Kyler Murray would be the better of the two and the number one pick today, based off of him now coming and saying that he's going to go to the NFL draft. I think that where you used it as maybe more so of a negative if he was like Lamar Jackson, I could see it as a positive. Lamar Jackson, again, let me go out on a limb. It's a really shaky one. The Ravens would not have gotten to the playoffs with Joe Flacco.
No, they wouldn't have.
And when I say shaky, I am being completely facetious because everyone knows they wouldn't have made it with Joe Flacco. They made it with Lamar Jackson. They made it with Lamar Jackson. Now, was Lamar Jackson the best passer this season? No, he was not. And why is that? Because Baltimore allowed him to do what is one of his really great things: run and run effectively. Did they start to open up the passing game for him more so as the season went on? Yeah, they did. And was he good at it? Yeah, he was. He was pretty accurate. The game against the Chargers, I know not in the playoffs, but the one in the regular season where it didn't matter now.
Where they won.
But they won and smoked them. He had some great plays with his arm. He had some great plays with his legs. I think that Kyler Murray could be like that, but better. And that is not a negative, obviously, then. That's a positive. This is a guy who, because of how lethal he can be with his arm and with his legs, and how many big plays he can have coming either way, that makes him, I think, a lot more dangerous than maybe what we might see with Dwayne Haskins. That's why I would say Kyler Murray.
So I've got two questions for you. I had one lined up, but from what you said, you popped another one in my head that I want to ask you is, do you think based off this past year, did Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson help out Kyler Murray? Because this year, because of how both those two played this season, are we not going to look at Kyler Murray the same way we would have looked at Lamar Jackson last year's draft or a mobile quarterback before last year's draft?
I think so. And I think more so Lamar Jackson because teams, owners, GMs, coaches, they want to see that it works.
Yeah. They
want to see that, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we forgot. Russell Wilson was able to do this too, and he did it well. He's just been doing it for so long, we forgot about it. And then, oh yeah, Michael Vick did it well for a long time. And oh, wow, Lamar Jackson's doing it really well. They need to be reminded and have these examples that having these quarterbacks who, yes, they're good passers, but they might be better runners first, is okay. It's okay, and it's okay that they are extremely mobile. I mean, take a look at Mitch Trubisky. I mean, how many games this year did he do better running the football than throwing it? The game against the Patriots, he ended up with a lot of yards in the passing game, but he was more effective on the ground with his legs. He almost had 100 yards rushing and a touchdown there. So it's seeing these examples and then, yes, not being afraid of going after a guy who might be similar to that, because we can have the same success that this team did with this player, that this team did with this player, etc.
Last question I want to ask you has to do, it's a very NFL-y question, but I'm asking anyways, although we're on the Primetime Podcast. Put your beliefs and thoughts about Josh Rosen aside.
Oh, that's hard.
Should the Arizona Cardinals draft Kyler Murray with the number one pick because Cliff Kingsbury is on tape, of course he was with Texas Tech at the time, said he would draft Kyler with the number one pick if he had it. Well, congratulations, Cliff. You got the number one pick. You can put your money where your mouth is. Should they do it? And is Cliff Kingsbury the right coach for Kyler Murray at the next level?
Putting my accurate thoughts about Josh Rosen aside.
Because I know you would easily just go, yes, Josh Rosen's garbage. Like, give me something besides that.
Okay, then no, you shouldn't, because the thought would be you're now with a quarterback in his second year in the NFL. The thought is he hopefully gets better. We know he won't. And I think that you have to believe, okay, we've got our man. Year one was tough. Year one can be tough. We won 3 games. We were bad.
Everyone's going to continue to throw the Jared Goff in your face. Just warning you.
That's fine. They can go ahead. They can be wrong. I'll come and I'll wear my cowboy hat. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
Like Stephen A.
But I guess I would say no then. You don't draft him. You don't draft him because you believe that you have your future right here already on your team.
Let's say they do, though. Is Cliff Kingsbury the right coach for Kyler in the NFL?
Yeah, I do. I do think so. Do I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the best head coach? You didn't ask me that, but I'll answer it. No, I see Cliff Kingsbury more suited for the offensive coordinator role, which he'll probably be in about 3 years when he's fired from the Arizona Cardinals. But
just as long as he makes it longer than Steve Wilkes and doesn't get shutted.
I still feel bad for Steve Wilkes. I mean, even Vance Joseph got a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I think that he would be good for him because he is high-powered, high-flying, move the ball down the field offense with the quarterback. Run. Thought this was Madden. I didn't think I had a run.
Which is weird because they got David Johnson,
who is great in the passing game.
Yeah.
So I would say that yes, he would be good for Kyler Murray if he got him. He probably won't get him. But I think he would be the right fit for him because how Murray plays, how Kingsbury coaches, it'd be a match. It would be an absolute match. They would have swiped right on each other.
You know what I want to do? Only if Josh Rosen turns out to be a bust. You know what I want to do if he turns out to be a bust?
What's that?
Much like you said, the Stephen A. thing, we have to do then a short video, maybe for like Twitter or a short video on the YouTube channel of much like Stephen A. cowboy hat-esque, you in a hot tub like Josh Rosen, just with a big old cigar. just being like, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm going to boast about it. Although you don't want to boast that someone's a bust, but hey, boasting that you're right, we love to do it here. I know there's a couple of us here at MVP that like to let you know when we're right.
I couldn't even pick who those were. But I would say that I could probably get in the hot tub now.
Okay. You're getting in there. You're getting comfortable. You're like, come on, Josh, come join me. But this is where you guys come in and let us know what you think down below in the comment section. What do you think about both Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray? Who would you pick if you had to choose between the two quarterbacks? Let us know what you're thinking down below in that comment section.